this computer. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Siobhan Lyon here, and I'm absolutely delighted today to introduce you to Andrew Carberry, who is the Director of Power Property. Andrew is an amazing guy and a great friend, and I'm delighted to introduce him to you guys today because in the work that Andrew does, he's here, I suppose, to help you guys. Anybody that's been worried recently about, if you're renting out a property or if you are renting a property, he might be able to answer some questions for you guys and help you just get through the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So just a little introduction on Andrew. As I said, he is an amazing guy. So nice to deal with and so genuine as well, and I think you guys are going to absolutely love him. So Andrew, as I said, is the Director of Power Property. He's the head of professional services department in Power Property. He shares his post with 4 other people. I think it could be 3, actually, I'm not sure. I'll check that out with him in a minute. And he has over 18 years experience in the commercial property market, including 8 years working in Dublin. The big smoke, lads. So Andrew is a member of a number of accrediting bodies. It's SCSI and the RICS, and also the VRS. So he's a valuer for registered schemes. So he might explain a little bit more to me about that, Andrew, in a minute, will you? Because this is all over my head. Okay, so mainly what he does anyways, he does professional services including rent review, assets management, and consultancy and valuations. So Andrew, you're most welcome today. Thanks so much for coming on board. I'm really excited to have you here. How are you doing today?
Very good, Siobhan. Thank you for that introduction, and hopefully I can live up to it.
Oh my God, of course you will. Of course you will. Everyone is going to love you. So I have a few questions for you anyway. First of all, let's have a look at some of those accrediting bodies and the thing around the valuation, because I certainly don't know a whole lot about property. It's not my gig, but I know that like you and I had a little chat before we came on here today as well, and you were able to tell me a little story about why you got into property in the first place, and I just think that's a lovely story. Do you want to say a little bit about that maybe before I burst on ahead?
Sure, yeah. I suppose your interest is piqued at some point in your life, and it's something that sticks with you. And this particular story, I always revert to it when asked about my choice of career. So really what it was a little cottage with no running water or electricity in a place called Carberry, just outside Westport. And it was left to my late father, who it was willed to him in 1989 by his granddad when he passed away. So he was delighted with that. But as it happens, she didn't have the ability to will it to him because it had been mortgaged with the Land Commission. And she essentially had a life estate in the property. So when she died, the property passed back to the Land Commission.
Oh my God.
My father, our family.
You're going to make sure that doesn't happen to any of my people in here.
Yes, absolutely.
He's here to help you guys. Okay, so some of the amazing things, like, tell me a little bit more about the accreditation as well that you guys have to go through to become, professional property people.
Yeah, I suppose my accreditation really is a chartered surveyor, and I suppose how do you get your charter? Well, really, what is a chartered surveyor? It's a person who's really dedicated to education and continual professional development. So, for example, my educational background would have been initially in the RTC, as it was then, showing my age now.
Oh my God, it's going way back, Andrew.
Where we did a diploma, but I went on to study an undergraduate degree in Oxford Brookes University. So I spent 5 years in college, and after that, then you become a graduate surveyor.
Yeah.
But once you become a graduate surveyor, you have to go through the APC process, which is essentially an assessment of competence, that you can provide the services that we do to our clients competently and professionally.
Wow.
So that's at least another couple of years after qualifying. So all in all, you're probably looking at 7 or 8 years to get to a level of chartered surveyor.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And it sounds like a broad spectrum then as well, Andrew. It doesn't sound like it's really that simple.
No, well, I suppose surveying is a broad, very, very broad spectrum, and there's loads of different types of surveyors. And that's one of the most common questions we get asked is what do you do?
What is this?
And I
Yeah.
recall a gentleman saying to me, if you can't tell a person what you do in 10 words, then you've lost them. Forget
Oh
about
no.
it. But it's not really a straightforward out surveying, because there's so many different types of surveyors. Like there are quantity surveyors who deal with cost. There are building surveyors who deal with civils and building surveys. You have valuation surveyors or general practice surveyors, of which I am one. There's planning and development surveyors, geomatic surveyors, rural practice surveyors. So there's so many different types of surveyors. But really, the one that would be among the most common would be the valuation surveyor or general practice surveyor. And that's the area that I specialize in.
Okay, awesome. And what changes do you think are most likely then as well to occur, I suppose, post COVID-19? What are you seeing out there at the moment, or what kind of calls are you getting in so people get an idea of what they can go to you for help?
The first thing to say is that we've had an enormous shock to the economy and to the property market as a whole. And it's often overused, but it is unprecedented times. We have not seen the like of this before.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really looking at a catastrophic short-term shock, but I hope that we'll see an emergence of that as we go through the phases of the reopening plan for the government and back to some form of normality. But it will change, and it's not going to be the same. So the old ways are gone, and the new ways are en route. We're going to see a lot of changes. We're going to see issues arise when we go to the shop. We're not going to be able to shop as we would normally have done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see queues. We're going to see social distancing being maintained long after the virus is brought under control. And we're going to see changes to practices that we haven't probably seen before. So, for example, if you work in an office and you have your office, open plan office set up, that's likely to change now because of health requirements post COVID-19. So you might see the return of more cellular offices. You might see changes to air conditioning systems.
Oh no. We'll be going to work in a box.
Yeah. Well, one of the positive things to come out of it, Sean, is the emergence of home working or remote working.
Yeah.
I think people have learned, while it might have been difficult initially, not so bad. Less mileage in the car. Let's more time spent efficiently doing what your job requires you to do, as opposed to maybe chatting at the water cooler and having the banter and going for lunch. You're certainly much more focused when you're at home and you get through the work that you have to do. So that's out of every crisis is an upshot, and perhaps that's one of the upshots.
Yeah. I'm a big silver lining kind of girl, Everybody can see that in here all the time with my posts. So I think what has happened for you guys specifically then as well? I mean, you're probably working from home most of the time too, Andrew, and I know that anytime I've ever gone to rent a property when I've been opening business in the past, I've always loved to go and see it and get in there and really have a look around and go in, with a measuring tape, which I barely know how to use, but I'll bring it anyways, to see what kind of furniture I can fit in there, or, is it difficult now, or are you guys able to get online virtually and show people virtual views of property, or what way are you working with that?
Yeah, for the time being, actually, and we hope this changes next week, but until we enter phase 2, physical viewings are not actually allowed currently. So, but virtual viewings is a thing that has emerged. So technology is really helping us in this crisis. And one of the positives is the emergence of technology to make us communicate, to be able to do business, and to work collaboratively together. So technology is a big part, but physical, tangible touching and feeling of buildings is what people like to do, and it will return. However, it will return in a different format. So you're going to have to engage in the protocols that the auctioneer or estate agent or surveyor has to implement to allow viewings. So it'll be no more than 2 people at a time. It'll be without children initially. It will be on your own to look at the property. where vacant, that's easier. Where a property might be occupied, we have to make sure that it's vacant before people can go into it.
Sure.
With sanitation and with dispensers for sanitizing your hands, etc.
Yeah.
So,
And I think we're already starting to get used to that. I mean, even as I went in today for my eye test, you pump your sanitizer on the hand and in you go, and you put your glasses in a tray when you're finished having a look through them. And it's probably the same with you guys.
Correct. Yeah, it doesn't take long for people to adjust. We're very resilient, really, when it comes to change.
Yeah.
We mightn't like it, but we do get on with it.
Yeah.
And it becomes okay or quite normal after time. So, we're not freaked now by seeing people wearing face masks or gloves, or, we're quite happy to sanitize our hands going into the filling station, grocery store, or wherever we go. So it'll just be another thing that we need to do, and we just get on with it. And I have to say that people have been more than understanding, and they realize that we're all in the same boat. So they've been really good with us, being patient, because we can't show them properties physically at the moment. We certainly send them photographs or little movie reels with internal imagery, so that they can get into the property. But hopefully we'll be back to normal. We'll be back to physical viewings next.
New normal.
New normal. That's the buzz now at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fantastic, Andrew. So, I mean, guys, with over 18 years experience in the property market, who best? I mean, Andrew is just a fabulous guy with loads of knowledge, and just, knows everything there is to know about his business. And he even has a little quote that he uses in our BNI meetings, which I love: knowledge through, or what is it? Knowledge through experience. Isn't that it? Yeah, did I get it right?
Right.
I love it. I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect. It is perfect, because it is knowledge through experience. And in your experience, Andrew, what advice would you give to someone who is worried about their business at present?
Well, business, I mean, the biggest thing for us is communication.
Yeah.
If you don't communicate, you don't know, or the person that you need to communicate with doesn't know your issues, or doesn't know what problems or what you're dealing with at the moment. So whether you're dealing with a lease or whether you have an issue with a bank, whatever, the first thing you need to do is pick up the phone and talk to somebody.
Yes.
Let them know what the issue is. Because in my experience, the vast majority of landlords are working with tenants, for example, to help them through this crisis, because they're in a position. They realize that they need to get premises open again, people back to work, for rents to start rolling. And there's been concessions given to tenants to help them over this, hopefully just a speed bump in the grander scheme of things. But if you don't communicate, you don't engage, it's very difficult then for people to work with you. So the number one thing, no matter how bad it is or how you feel about things, pick up the phone, ring. I guarantee you get a good hearing, and that it's not as bad as you might have thought it would have been. And that probably goes for a lot of other areas outside of property.
Yeah. But I think we're scared, people are nearly afraid to hear what's going to happen, and that's why we nearly hide under the blankets and avoid it,
Yeah, but what's worse, Siobhan, is that people think about it then too much, and then it gets worse in their head. And as opposed to making that call, look, I can't pay the rent.
Yeah.
We have no income. What can we do? And you tend to work it out. People are reasonable by and large. And where they're not reasonable, that's where the like of ourselves come in and try and help with those positions.
Super. Because I've been in touch with a few people in recent times since COVID came in that, their landlords or their landlady was not reasonable. And what they did was they just moved property. But maybe if you guys intercepted beforehand, a deal could have been struck, and they didn't have to move all their stuff or, be under that pressure, because it is very stressful moving, especially if you have to move house or something. It's dreadful. Been through it many times.
It's a big deal, and but what's important, it's a two-way street. You need to understand the other party and where they're coming from as well.
Yeah.
And what we do is get those parties together, either individually, and share the information, or work with them collectively to see where the other point of view is. And most people get on with it, and then we come to some form of agreement. If people are willing, we'll find a solution.
You see, guys, he's a rock star. I love it. But you will find a solution, which is wonderful. And I think the communication is certainly the most important aspect of it. Andrew, if people need to contact you, have you got a phone number, an email address that you'd like to spin out there today? Maybe a link to your website. We can put that up as well on the slide at the
Absolutely.
end.
Well, my website is www.ppg.ie,
Okay.
and all our contact details are on there. So log on to our website and you'll be able to see our offices, our other members of staff, and what we do in more detail if it's something you'd like to do.
Awesome. Andrew, a million thanks. That was wonderful.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Appreciate it. Take care. Bye.